Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aiden,
I'm Jack.
And I'm Casey.
and we are very excited as training camp is pretty much underway as you're listening to this, unless you're listening to it like the second it drops. Um, we are super excited to have on once again Cannon's head coach Brian Holman, our head coach and general manager. Um, Say we start off with draft talk. Obviously, that's kind of the big news that happened most recently, but I think get the chance to really get into everything. Um, and yeah, just I mean, he's always so generous with his time with us, and um, he just loves talking to us so much, and talking about lacrosse and the team, and um, yeah, I guess Jack, Casey, anything you wanna say about Marathon Monday or about Brian, Coach Holman before we get in?
I mean, if you bring it up, just a quick congratulations to all of the runners
Hmm.
out there. Truly so inspiring. It's such a magical day in the city. But no, I think we should just send it right over to Brian.
All right, yeah. Here's our interview with Brian Holman. And welcome back to the Battery Podcast. Once again, our most frequent guest, Cannon's head coach, Brian Holman. Coach, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, guys. Just great to see you and happy to be back in action and looking forward. The training camp starts tomorrow, the first training camp, and couldn't be more excited to get this season. It's like we were just talking earlier, it was a long, really long off season, not having the champ series and ending the way it did was, I know it didn't set well with any of us. So we get a chance now to kind of, I don't want to say right the wrong, but let's get back out there and kind of, you know, see what we can come up with for this season. So thanks for having me on. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. We're really excited. I mean, I guess the draft was the biggest, most recent thing that happened. So let's start there. Second overall, obviously the highest pick you've had, and it went to Mikey Weishartshausen. How many other players were you considering at that two spot? I guess was one of them Aiden McGuire, and then how'd you wind up deciding on Mikey?
Yeah, you hit it. It started out, it started when we first started looking at who we wanted to take there. It was really three guys. It was two defensive and one offensive. So we didn't really settle in on the actual players until we started scouting some games and thinking about what was the best fit. So defensively, it was Will Schaller and Aiden were always the kind of, well, I shouldn't say always the top two guys. It was Will Schaller and Bobby Van Buren. We felt, as most of pro lacrosse felt, were the two best
Hmm.
defensemen coming out, especially cover, which is something that we were looking for. Then Aiden is clearly, I don't need to talk about Aiden McGuire. He's been talked about enough. He is the best athlete. He's probably the overall best player in the draft. So he was obviously in there. And then offensively, we were really focused on being more explosive, a little bit more dynamic, and playmaking. Those were kind of the three mantras I talked to Will about over and over and over again. So anything we were going to look at offensively, I wanted us to be explosive, want us to be a dynamic player and have playmaking ability. And if they didn't have one of those qualities, the other two really had to be. And as we kept watching and just looking at the players, Mikey just kept. I mean, I watched him last year a ton, and he just kept standing out to us. So offensively, he was really at the top of the list. And then Will, Schaller, Van Buren, and McGuire were the defensive guys. And then, Will and Bobby both got hurt this year, which, stinks for them. I know Will's going to come out next year. Bobby's going back for another year at Ohio State. So then once they were out, we started zeroing in on McGuire. So then it became, if McGuire came at two, we were going to take him, and if he was gone, then Mikey was going to be the choice. And we felt like we could get a defenseman that we had targeted later in that second pick for that 10th pick, because we didn't feel like all the defensemen were going to go off the board at that point in time. So we wanted to get our O guy locked in if we could. And then we'll pick at 10, we picked Hunter Smith, which is, I can go on in him about him later, but that ended up being a really great pick for us too. So I think that answered your question. It's kind of how the board was stacked up for us early on with the number two pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but I guess Weishar being lefty attackman this year had played a lot of midfield at the start of his career. Do you, or I guess do you and Coach Will Manning now envision like him switching back and forth with Coulter? Is he going to be up in the midfield?
Yeah, no, Mikey's naturally a midi. I mean, he played that pretty much all through his high school, first couple years at Towson. I talked to Sean, actually Coach Nadeland at Towson, and we have a really good connection with Towson. With Ryan and Zach Goodrich. I love Coach Nadeland. I love the guys that come out of his program are kind of cannon type guys. They're tough. They're blue collar. They're very team oriented guys. But Mikey's been a midfielder most of his life, and talking to him when I interviewed him he actually indicated like he loves being on the field and he loves playing attack for Towson because it's just to stay on the field all the time. But he thought he would be a better pro at the midfield. So, looking at it, Aiden, the other piece to that offensive selection was we really wanted to get a running mate over there for Coulter. We have Graydon Hogg, who's a lefty. Hogger does so many cool things for us. I probably should have played him a little bit more last year. Not as quite as dynamic and doesn't really have like the sort of the explosiveness that Mikey does, but Hogger is really the only true lefty partner with Coulter. And you guys saw last year in the Redwoods game and the Denver game when Will and Coulter were playing together, there was really a lot of chemistry there, and there was just a lot of offensive flow. And I think that's uh, Coulter really likes having someone over there to play with. So Mikey's like a perfect fit for him. He's quick, he's fast, he's going to draw a lot of eyes. He has a ton of range. He has the ability to play that two-man game, to throw the ball back, to set good picks, to help Coulter get to where he needs to get to. So we got a home run there. Coulter's going to benefit from us. We're going to benefit from it. And the other thing is our offense just got a lot more explosive. Matt Campbell's going to benefit from it because arguably now we're going to have three to four Dodgers on that line. Mick Kelly's going to have an incredible year. I know it. The work that he's been putting in, and Mick's a very explosive Dodger as well. So I think that line's going to be pretty cool to watch. So
Yeah, no, we were all very excited all watching the draft together, hearing his name get called. Yeah, I think people were talking about, or I know he was considered to maybe be going first overall as well. So I
yeah,
think,
there was some talk at draft night that the Archers might have be considering him. I know for a fact that if we didn't take him, the Whip Snakes were next, and then if Whip Snakes didn't take him, the Chaos wanted him. I knew that for a fact. So he was pretty sought after that night, and I think we got a heck of a player and a really 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 cool kid. I had several conversations with Mikey, very humble, soft spoken in a way, and just a total lax rat. So it's going to be good.
yeah, I think something that was really really cool to see in the video of him, like the Towson watch party. Of course, there's that
Yeah,
moment of excitement with his whole team's around him, but then after that, there's this moment that I'm really glad they kept recording, where he's sitting like kind of by himself, like a lot of his teammates have gone back to their seats, and there's just this look on his face that he just seems so grateful to like hopefully have this dream realized of playing pro lacrosse that I think just made me, aside from everything about him as a player, which is fantastic in its own right, just really glad to see that kind of like humility and love for the game
yeah,
on.
yeah. And it's very perceptive because that's
Mm.
again when you go through this draft process. I mean, I FaceTimed 33 players over the last couple of months, and I FaceTime them because I want to be like you guys. I want to sit and talk to them. I want to have a conversation with them. I want to see their body language. I just want to get a feel for what type of humans they are. And the one thing when I hung up from Mikey, the one thing that stood out the most was the humility. Like he does not consider himself one of those guys. He's one of the best players in the country. He's leading his team right now. As his coach says nothing but incredible things about his leadership ability, and but you just don't feel that from him. So I think he's going to be a man of a lot of deeds, less words. He's not going to have extended conversations. But I know that he's very grateful. I know this means a lot to him, and I'm very happy to give him the opportunity because I think it's going to pay off dividends for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I don't know, Jack, we got yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel
just
like
moving down the board,
Yeah.
Brian, you talked a little bit about the strategy with defense. Could you just talk a little bit more, especially not only just taking Hunter Smith in the second round, but then following that up a little bit later by taking another pull with Will Donovan?
Yeah. Um, yeah, this is where we got lucky. So we had two defensemen targeted at 10. Hunter was clearly the one. And so based on what we need right now, right? And again, I haven't done a good job. I don't want to say drafting, but kind of looking forward a little bit. So we were a little short on the defensive side. I didn't know Bryce and Garrett were both going to retire this year. I had a sense one of them was going. So, we don't have a lot of defensive depth, right? And if you look at last year, Jack was still playing hurt a lot, a different injury. And by the way, Jack Keelty is the healthiest he's been, and he said probably 10 years of his life.
Wow.
He
Love it.
looks like $1 million. His back's not bothering him anymore. He's completely recovered from the Achilles injury. So I think we're going to see the Jack Keelty of old this year. But we needed a cover guy. We needed a guy to go with Jack. We're going to move Owen Grant down to close, and Owen's going to be more of our off ball kind of big body, kind of clean up the mess, get the ball off the ground kind of guy. So Hunter Smith was the next guy in line after Schaller and Van Buren, and I think Hunter got a little bit of a bad rap this year. Is that he plays in a defense that's very team oriented. So you don't really see Hunter get his matchups tested very much. And talking to his coach, Dan Giamatti, and I know Dan really, really well, and Dan's a man of few words. He talked to me for about 15 to 18 minutes straight up on Hunter Smith. And in the middle of it, I was like, Coach, I've never heard you say more than like 6 words in 10 years that I've known you. And he couldn't stop talking about him from his leadership ability. He really credited him a ton, if not more than anybody else in taking Richmond to the area, the places that they are right now. Said he's an absolute a rat in the film room. And then when I spoke to him, he had this, and I said this to coach, like this borderline confidence to arrogance was almost palpable. Like it was, and it wasn't like in your face, but it was, I need to listen to him because he spoke with such authority. So we were praying he would be there at 10. I felt he would because I felt Alex Ross, Penn State, would go off the board first. Um, what really made me know that we were in good shape is when the Outlaws traded to bump up to 4 and grab Plunkett because a lot of people were assuming they were going to take a defenseman as well. So I was kind of worried that maybe Hunter might go to one of those two teams. Um, but he didn't. So we got Hunter at 10 and he's 6'2", 220, really good athlete. He's going to be a heck of a lacrosse player for us. And then Will Donovan, in my mind, was if Hunter wasn't there, we were going to take Will at 10. I think Will Donovan is a first round draft pick. I think he's one of the most dynamic, best overall lacrosse players in lacrosse today. I've watched him for 4 years play at Notre Dame and just control games off the ground, control games with his defense. And so we drafted Will not so much to be a pole with Ethan, but to be another defenseman. I spent an inordinate amount of time talking to Coach Wellner, the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, and between him and Ben Ramsey, they and Wells showed me film. They convinced me that Will Donovan is not just a pole. He can cover attackman. He can play all over the field. So getting Will was sort of like the dream for me, getting Hunter and Will together, because now it gives us really four close defensemen that we can pretty much match up with if you go through the league and look at the different attacks. Will's a smaller, quicker, faster guy with a great stick. He can match up against Chaos Ross Scott. He can match up against Pat Cavanaugh. Um, you've got Hunters that's kind of a stronger, more physical, has great feet. You could look at putting him on a Bernhardt. You could look at him putting him on a CJ Kirst. You could look at Will Donovan on a Michael Sauer. So, in my head, it just made all of our matchups start to come really clear. So I'm just we were lucky. I felt taking Hunter at 10 that Will would be there at 15 just because of the way the board shook out. And it didn't, I knew between us at 10 and 15, there wasn't a great need for defenders to go off the board at that time. So we lucked out. Good Lord was looking out after us, and we literally got the top three guys that we were targeting. Besides Aiden McGuire, he would have been the fourth that we had on our board in the draft with our first three picks. So um, all three are going to be players. All three are going to help us tremendously get to where we need to get to this year, and all three fit the Cannons mold right to the highest level. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we love to hear just how excited you get about those players. Definitely gets us, more excited than we already were, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen some great highlights of Donovan and Smith that I'm super excited to see them this summer. And Jack, you finally get your long pole named Smith playing the Cannons uniform.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Took us a
We
while, Jack.
also
It took us a couple years, but we got there.
we gotta thank you for keeping two players local as well, taking a guy from Harvard and from D3 Tufts. So
Yeah.
what was I assume those aren't just homers and picks. You expect these guys to come in and be
No, no,
players.
I don't. Logan is, all you got to do is talk to the defensive coordinators in the Ivy League, and Logan's name pops up pretty much at the top of the list. Few of the Princeton boys, but Logan is right up there. And I went to see Logan play in person. Harvard played at North Carolina and here in Maryland. And again, thinking back to what we talked about earlier, offensively, what do we need that we don't have? Like if you take a look at our attack, right? We've got a great off-ball player and a shooter with Marcus. We've got a really strong dodger, physical dodger, ball in the stick guy with Asher. We've got a great shooter, off-ball player, really good dodger in Coulter. In our midfield, you've got the best midfielder in the world. You've got Hogger that could potentially be a running mate on the lefty side with Coulter. Now you're going to put Mikey over there with him. And then the guy that, again, I mentioned earlier that, again, I didn't do a good job last year in so many ways, but this is a guy that should have been playing a ton for us, and he wasn't. I leaned down the stretch on the older guys, but Mick Kelly should have been on the field, all year long. He's 6'2". He's 215 pounds. He can dodge short sticks. He can dodge a pole. He can invert. He's fast as all get out. He's just a great lacrosse player. So I drafted him in the second round last year. And again, I've already had the conversations with Mick. I apologize for not playing him, but he's going to be running up there. So you have another Dodger. Now what are we looking for, right? What can fill out that lineup? Because you're only playing five midfielders, right? So you're not even talking about Connor Kirst right now. You're
Hmm.
not even talking about Jeff Trainer right now. You're not talking about Alex Vidaro right now. Um, so our focus was on speed and explosiveness. You guys saw last year what the kid McAdory did to the league, right? Like coming out of the box just turned everybody on their head a little bit, like, holy cow. Well,
Yeah.
Logan, I'm not sure Logan is as fast as Andrew, but Logan has similar types of skill sets. He's very, very explosive. He's extremely two-handed. Uh, his coach, Neil Hutchinson and Jerry, both don't know what hand he really is. Um, he can shoot the ball with range, probably 11 to 12 yards, and he's getting a pole every weekend. Like I told him, I was like, Logan, when you go play in the pros, you're not getting a pole. Like he's like, Coach, I cannot wait to get back. I haven't dodged a short stick in 3 years now. Like, and if you watch these games, they just slide to him so early. Just his job is to move it on. So I think Logan's going to be a very dynamic player for us. And I think he's going to add spice to the competition. And I know he's going to add speed. And I know he's going to add playmaking ability. So he was a guy that was high on our list. And then Jack was one of my better interviews. He's a kid that is very determined. He could have left Tufts and gone on to play for a major Division I colleges this year with the NIL and the transfer, and he went back to Tufts strictly out of loyalty. And they were the only school that gave him a chance coming out of high school, and I really appreciated that. Could have gone on to the limelight at the schools he was telling me were, they're big time schools. And he's a midi. He's not really an attackman. He played midi all through, again, very similar to Mikey. 6 foot, he weighs about 200 pounds. Mikey Thompson texted me after Christopher Newport played them and said he's one of the most ferocious Dodgers he's ever seen at any level. So I've caught a little grief taking that guy in the third round, but we didn't have any fourth round picks, so it was technically like a fourth round pick. And I don't know. I have a feeling Jack is going to make people, question whether he should have been drafted or not. Just a very, very, very determined young man. And Steve Toomey is the assistant coach at Tufts. And Steve worked with me down at North Carolina for a number of years, and I respect Steve immensely. And he just said, Coach, he said he's the hardest working kid I've ever seen, besides your son when he was down at North Carolina. So I'll take that. I'll take athleticism, explosiveness. He's very dynamic, and he's got a huge chip on his shoulder to prove that he's worthy of the choice. Um, so, with the offensive guys, we got what we wanted. We've got playmakers, we've got speed, we've got some dynamic playmaking in there, and all three of those guys are very explosive in their own right. So, however it shakes out with the middies that we do have, Coach Manny was ecstatic. Like he felt like all of our bases are covered now, and we've got depth everywhere. And I think that's the one thing that when we came out of the draft, when I looked at the whole board, I'm like, dang, we really have depth at every position, and it's quality depth. It's not like going from A to C. It's A to A minus. So, um, but at the end of the day, right, we got to get out there and play, and guys, have to prove it, and so do I. So that's the exciting part about what's coming up. But they're all going to see the field because you can't draft all these guys and let them ride the pines. So it's going to be an interesting time when the season starts, just to how to kind of navigate. There's almost 3 seasons for us. There's this early part of the season right now, which everybody's kind of struggling what to deal with. There's a roster for this camp. There's going to be a roster for the next camp, and we open up with a double header, so that roster could be look different right there. So I'm really excited for the challenge that lies ahead. So, so that covers the whole draft. And you see
Yeah.
the thought process behind why they were drafted too. So
Yeah, thank you. That was, I think it was really informative. I know I feel like I learned a lot and have gained a lot of appreciation for those guys. You've brought up a lot of things that I think we all want to know about, so we'll try to hit one and come back to the others. Um, I guess maybe let's start with the coaches. So you've mentioned his name a couple of times. Will Manny retires, joins the coaching staff, just like Hartzell did a couple of years ago.
yeah.
Um, and then new coordinator on the defensive end too, with Aaron Verardi. So what it's the third straight year with new coaches for the Cannons. I guess what was the process between Oderna and Jernstead leaving and Manny and Verardi coming on, and what can we expect? I mean, I think we know what to expect from Will Manny, but what can we expect from Aaron Verardi?
Um, yeah, it's definitely something that well, two things. One, with the league shifting to the early start, I just it didn't make any sense for me to have John or Alec part. I mean, they we won't see them until June probably.
Mhm.
And I just can't imagine starting the season and 3 games in and bringing in your 2 assistant coaches. So So with that change, it really changed some of the dynamics of how you're going to look at things in the PLL. One of the reasons I went out and got Alec and John is that they were both willing to have a little bit longer term commitment. I said that to you guys last year. So, that just didn't work. For no other reason besides, I what were we going to do for the first three games? I'm a good coach, but I don't think I can really have a great effect on all taking care of two other jobs. So that being said, when I knew the season was changing, Willie was the first call by far. Just number one, talking about what the future holds from him as a player. And that phone call was a difficult one because you know we were going to go in a different direction. Coulter is going to be our guy, and you know. The team that we had last year, we all felt in our heart of hearts that was going to be a team that was going to get us to the final game. And, let's face it, we were a little bit older in a lot of areas, and it didn't. And I just felt after the season, just doing a complete evaluation of myself first and then everything else around the team, it was time to kind of commit to the younger side of things. So we had that conversation. I think Willie knew it was coming. And I didn't go at him right there like, hey, you're not playing, but maybe you can come coach. I just had to let him kind of sift through that. He's such a dedicated professional. He's a Hall of Famer. I
Yeah.
mean, so let that sit for a while. And then when I felt the time was right, I went back at him with the offer and he was ecstatic. He took some time to think it through, make sure it was good for him and his wife and the travel and stuff. But now that he's on board, it's just like old times, man. I mean, we talk every day. He's so competitive. His nickname is Chippy because he plays with a lot of a chip on his shoulder, right? Because people are always doubting Will, and no matter what he does, and he just brings that energy. And when I talk to the guys after when I was going to make Will the offer, I talked to Matt Campbell, I talked to Coulter, talked to Asher. Really didn't talk to Marcus about it because at that point, I know Mark would be fine with it, but they're like best friends, so it's kind of like I wanted to keep him out of the mix a little. And well, I think Alex Fedaro was in there, and they were like ecstatic. Yes, coach, please get him. He will be awesome. So that was a home run, and Will is going to be with me for as long as I'm going to be here. He's committed to that. His wife is committed to that. Thank the good Lord. And then Aaron was a guy that I went after early. He was a guy I went after a year before John. Um, Aaron's the head coach at Hartford Community College here in Maryland. He's been there for 10 or 11 years now. He's just won the last three national championships in a row. I coached Aaron when he was 6 years old to 8 years old, 8 years old, maybe he was eight, in youth league football. So Marcus and he are on the same youth league football team. And Aaron was one of the toughest dudes that I've ever coached at any age. And he just kind of became part of my family, and I helped him get into boys Latin when he was going to high school. Was a super player there, and then helped him get into UMBC where he played for Coach Zimmerman, who's a great friend of mine. Was a two-time captain there, an All-American player. He is a cannon through and through. He's kind of like blue collary, I don't want to say this in a bad, like little rednecky type of hard worker, just our kind of guy, man. And he's so humble and so calm, for a guy that played very violently. And he's gonna be aces, and he's committed for a long time. He really loves Hartford. He doesn't have any plans on leaving there. He's not married. He doesn't have kids. He's a whole lacrosse, so his flexibility in the summer is just tremendous. So I'm really excited for him. He's ecstatic about the opportunity because he just sees this as an evolution as a coach. But it's cool, knowing him and just looking at him at an 8-year-old. Now he's what, 34, 35 or whatever. It's cool. So two great coaches. Um, guys already have just felt the vibe from both of them in different ways, and they felt the vibe with me, knowing how much I trust both of these guys. I think that's a big factor too. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So yeah, I mean, especially with Aaron's coaching record, it's really hard to deny that.
Yeah.
So I think if we can bring that three straight titles up to Boston, I think we'll take that in a
That's
heartbeat.
Now, if
right.
he brings that along with him, then I'll be working for him in another year or two. So yeah, all good. Yeah, and you'll never know it by talking to him. And it's I don't care where you're coaching, to win three straight national championships is a feat. And I just being on Zooms with him and seeing him interact with the guys, I understand why he does. He's very smart, but in a very simple way, if that makes sense. Not a complicated scheme person. He's very simplistic in his approach, um, and just a humble person. He values hard work. He values honesty. He values a lot of the things that we stand for. And the guys see that in him right away. Like there's no pretense with Aaron. He's got the beard and wears the hat and walks the walk and talks the talk. So it's all all good.
All right, we'll get him one of those camo Boston Cannons hats.
Yeah, he'll
Yes.
he'll be sporting that. Whatever that's got some camouflage on him. He'll be wearing that thing for sure. Yeah. So very, very happy, very lucky, very blessed to be able to lose two coaches like John and Alec and pick up two people like Will and Aaron. I'm just a very lucky person. They're gonna make my life. I don't want it to be easier, but I know they will make it easier. And I just have so much confidence and trust in them, and I think the team already feels that with our interactions. So yeah, gonna be good.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the grit that you're describing and the competitiveness, to see the two new coaches work together and see what they can do for the team and where we go with that. I'm pretty excited to see how that plays out. Um, Now, something that we want to talk about is, um, you've been very active with free agency, and picking up people before the draft came, right?
Yeah,
Um, and a few of those players include ones that we're not really all that familiar with.
yeah.
So we want to hear from you, like what was your approach in finding those players, and finding that talent or sourcing that talent? Um, yeah.
Yeah, good question, Casey. Two things. So when free agency opened up, we had guys that we were targeting, and most of them were on the defensive side. We just felt like, obviously, I'd known Bryce and Garrett were gone for a long time, even though I think Garrett's just became public. But so we knew we had some holes there. So the guys that we were targeting free agency, we had one, two, three guys. All three of those guys signed back with their older teams, right? And I wasn't throwing a lot of money around. I think I was competitive in my bidding, but I just got the sense like those guys wanted to stay with their team. So I didn't, you know, I wasn't begging them to come play for the Cannons, put it that way. So we had great talks. Um, so defensively, the next step was, okay, if you don't have a free agent, right, then there's the trade market, right? Now, the way the trades are working, and I'm learning my lessons as we go along here. I think we made two great trades a couple years ago for Bryce and Connor, but we gave up two third-round picks, right? Um, I kind of have a different feel right now when it comes to trading. I think in the short term that helped us, but I'm not sure in the long term that helps us, right? If that makes sense. So that's the next option, right? So is there a trade market available for defenders on other teams that we would want? And in evaluating everybody and looking at salaries, where certain guys were, what they're getting paid, you know, I wasn't willing to give up a second round pick for a 5 or 6 or 7 year veteran. That comes with a pretty hefty price tag, right? So the next decision then is, all right, what's available? So the two guys we picked up, John DeFazio. John made the Whip Snakes 25-man roster last year. I called Drew Snyder, who's the assistant coach at with the Whip Snakes, the offensive coach, and we had an in-depth conversation about John. And Drew really led me to believe that John can be a 25-man roster player. And the skills that we were looking for, John possessed. He's 6'2", about 190. He's got a great stick. He's left-handed. He's sick off the ground. He's a good cover guy. He's not overly physical, but we're really not looking at for that kind of that third spot, right? So we picked up John. All right, and then Remy was a guy that we were looking at drafting out of Loyola last year, and I think Remy has great potential. Matt Dwan is the defensive coordinator, and Charlie Toomey at Loyola. They just rave about him. He's tough as nails. He's a very hard checker. He's got great feet. He's another lefty, similar size. So, you go in the waiver pool, those two guys are sitting there, and one made a 25-man roster, and the other one, I trust Charlie Toomey and Matt Dwan immensely when it comes to talent evaluation, and I loved him last year as a player. So those are the two defenders that we picked up, and that's how we got to them. Style of play, their makeup from a coach's perspective, guys that I trust in the business, giving them good evaluations as people and players. And then if you look on the offensive side, let's start with just drew a blank here. Well, Ty Kurtz, I think is a no-brainer.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited about that one,
Are
coach.
you, why?
Yes, I
Why?
am. So I've been getting to watch Curtsy more closely over the last few years because before I moved to Boston, I lived in Albany, New York. And so I was at every single Firewolves game. And so Ty Kurtz has
There you
played for
go.
them for a long
Yeah.
time. And he really became one of my like most favorite players to watch with the Firewolves. He and I was always kind of bummed that he didn't get more time playing with the Chaos.
Yeah.
Um he's I think he's really fun to watch play. I mean, he's a baller.
Yes.
Um,
There you go. Way to go, Casey.
he's a
That's
baller.
exactly how I described it. I was like, Kurtz is just a baller. Like people are like, well, what about Ty Kurtz? I'm like, he's just a baller, man. Like
Yep.
he does everything well. Like
Yeah.
so I was shocked too. Like so he was on the Chaos. I think it was our first year. I think he had like double digit goals. So I called Coach Towers. I'm like, tell me about Ty Kurtz. And he just raved about him. He's like, we should have played him more. He's a great teammate, yada, yada, yada. Um, then I called Brody Merrill and I'm like, when you coach against Ty Kurtz, what do you see? And he's like, he's a baller. Like he goes in the corner, he gets tough ground balls. He's got great vision. He can shoot the heck out of the ball. He's a great teammate. And then when I called him, and Owen Grant and Ty are very close. So I called OG. OG's like he's one of my best friends. He's total lax all the time, 100%. And then when I interviewed him, it was off the charts, like just and then watching him play, I mean, he's like top 14 in the league in points, and so
Mhm.
we're looking at Ty as sort of a Ryan Drenner substitute. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Dren's out tore his ACL, unfortunately,
Oh,
in a championship indoor game in Ball. He and Marcus play on this indoor team in Baltimore together, and it was like the last 2 minutes of the game they were winning by like 4 or 5 goals, and he tore his ACL, so he's out for the year. So how
that's
do you?
tough.
Yes, and Dren has still hasn't missed a Zoom call. Still is in on every meeting. Still replies to every text that gets sent out. He's the best. So I redid his contract just to make him feel better and know that he's loved and that when he's healthy, he'll be back with the Cannons. And um, so how do you replace, Drenner? Like, is Vidaro kind of a replacement for Drenner? Sort of, not really. Like, and then you look at a guy like Ty Kurtz, and when I interviewed Kurtz, he's like, I'll go do all the dirty things. Like, put me inside. I can set great screens. I can help Marcus work on his side. float me out top. I can 14, 15-yard shots easily. He's like, I'm not going to carry the ball around a ton. And I was like, well, that's not why we're getting you. Like, you don't need to do that. So he's going to be at camp tomorrow, which is, I'm sorry for Oshawa, but I'm very happy for the Cannons.
Yeah.
And I just talked to him 2 days ago. He was driving up for their last game, and
Yeah.
they beat Buffalo. It's been a very
Yeah, we
good
did.
year for them. Yeah, he had a good
It's a
game.
good day when we beat Buffalo.
Yeah, no doubt. That's like us beating.
Uh-huh.
Pick one.
The Atlas,
Yes,
Whip
the Whip
Snakes,
Snakes
Philly.
and the Water Dogs all in one night. So,
Yeah.
um, So I'm stoked for him. And then Matt Licata, that's who I was going to start with. So I recruited Matt out of high school. He was one of our top recruits in Utah. And then when we left Utah, he decided he didn't want to go there, so he went to Villanova. So he played with Matt Campbell for a couple of years.
Hmm.
Matt, you talk about explosive, dynamic, and playmakers. Matt has all of those abilities. So we wanted to get another attackman in there that can dodge, you know, with Coulter and Asher, and someone that has a different skill set than Asher does. And he's opposite of Asher. He's very quick twitch. He's very stop and go, dynamic, and he's New Hampshire. He's tough as nails. Like he's tough as nails. Like Matt Licata will turn the corner and he will get hit and he'll get up and he'll get in some guy's face and tell you about it. So he gives us a different look back there with Asher. It's a completely almost total opposite of spectrums of the dodging. So that's why we went at Matt. And who else did we pick up in there? Uh,
I think maybe the most surprising to us was someone who did not play college lacrosse at all in Bryson Shaw.
yeah, that's a flyer. That's called a flyer, right? Bryson was a heck of a high school player.
Mm.
Very highly. You were committed to Maryland, I think, in ninth grade. And I remember watching him play club lacrosse. He was a freak. I mean, he was biggest, fastest, sort of like you were talking about Aiden, like with your seventh grade and eighth grade guys. In ninth
Yeah.
grade, Bryson was 6 foot 185 and just blowing by everybody on the field. Played football for Ohio State and then went to USC, started safety for both of those teams. High energy, very smart guy. I don't know what's going to happen with Bryson. Here's what I do know. I know he's competitive as heck. I know he's athletic as heck. I think the game's going to be a major, major league adjustment for him to be able to make it. But at the end of the day, it was no harm, no foul. Claimed him off of waivers, no big deal. He was going to get claimed if we didn't take him. So I do know that for a fact. And it was going to get claimed by someone in our division. So I figured I'm claiming him, so they're not having him. If that's the worst case. And he's been a very energetic, positive guy in the film room so far. The guys love him. So we're gonna see him this week, and we'll see what happens. Crazier things have happened. The guy I want to touch base with that we haven't talked about is Marquez White.
Hmm.
So Marquez, we were going to draft him out of Princeton as a short stick, and then he tore his knee up.
Mm.
Um, and he's fully recovered. And he literally, if I could read the text that Brody sent me on Marquez, he basically was like, "We didn't give this kid one chance of playing for us in the Seals this year, but through hard work, dedication, just sheer willingness, film work, extra work." He's starting for us now, and they made the playoffs, so Marquez won't be at camp. I'm kind of bummed about that,
Mm.
but Marquez is going to be a player for us. He's 6 foot one. He's 190 pounds. He was an excellent short stick at Princeton. Excellent. Coach Mitch was always raving about Marquez. Extremely smart and very tough. So right now we'll have a short stick D room of Rammer, Goody, and Marquez as our top three. Obviously, Jeff and Connor kind of swung back and forth. I'm going to probably move away from that this year and go back to the more traditional playing of three short sticks our first 2 years in the league.
Mhm.
Let me turn this light on here. Um, our first two years in the league, we played three true short sticks. Remember Aslanian and Bubba and Goody. And I just thought we were better defensively having three true short sticks. So we're probably going to go back to that. So Marquez is in there, and then there is a guy that I'm looking at that I almost spent that fifth draft pick on, out of Notre Dame, another short stick that I'll probably add to the roster at some point in time between now and by the time we get to camp in May up in Rhode Island. So that'll give us a huge depth in our short stick room. And then we always have Trainer and Kirsty to be able to swing in there if they need to take a shift or two.
Mm.
But that's a philosophical change that I want to get back to playing more true short sticks than a split midi slash short stick. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about Marquez. I think I'm going to go on record now and say that that might end up being the steal of that time frame. If he stays healthy, which it seems like he is, I think he's going to be an impactful player for us, come this summer. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it was tough to not see him get a chance with the Woods either, and now with the Seals, I guess. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think the more excited, motivated players you have, the better.
yeah,
Um, yeah, can't wait. I guess you're going the opposite route of the Archers then. If you're, it seems like everyone's going to play both ways for them this year.
yeah. I can see. I mean, I don't put anything past Chris Bates, man. He's a very smart guy. And I'll be honest with you guys. I had this conversation a couple years ago with Coach Mitch. Just trying to figure out how to be different, right? And how how can we just not be so conventional when it comes to playing this sport. The pro game is different than any other game right now. It's a smaller field. It's incredibly fast. It's got the 2 point arc, et cetera. And something we toyed around with and thought about was like something that Coach Bates is doing right now is potentially maybe drafting guys that can just stay on the field and
Mm.
play both ways. Um, they have three. I think Connor Mahar is a really good player. I'm not sure he's quite level of offensively, but I think Pedersen, um, and the kid from Penn,
Piper Bond.
yeah, can both handle. Obviously, Aiden can. That we were going to use Aiden that way. We were going to leave him on the field a little bit more than your traditional. I see. When we had Bubba, we left Bubba on the field a lot. When Trainer was playing short stick, we kind of left Jeff on the field a lot. So I see the merit in his thought process for sure. The question is, you know, which end of the field suffers a little, right? Is it going to be the O end because these guys really aren't true offensive players, or is it going to be the D end because maybe they're spending more time on the O end? So that was where Coach Mitch and I couldn't come to the grips. It was like something's going to give, and what will it be? But it'll be interesting to see how
Yeah.
that works for those guys.
Yeah.
But they
Um,
still have Tom Shriver and Grant Ament and
yeah.
Dyson Williams and bunch of other cats too. So it's not going to just be those guys running around out there.
Yeah. I mean, for the sake of that experiment, for the sake of Boston, I sure hope we see Dyson Williams play a few shifts at D mid when the Classic ends.
Yeah. Well, I think I would like to see that myself, Aiden. That'd be good. Maybe we can make him run down there. So you never know.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Push the ball fast enough, and they got to stay out, right? So you mentioned Marcus or Marquez rather is not going to be at training camp. OG is not going to be there because of the NLL.
Yeah.
And then there's also the possibility that all the guys you drafted are not going to be there, or they're not there right now, but that even that they wouldn't be available that first weekend in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So what's the communication like with them now to get them in, and how do you try to work guys through when they haven't even had a training camp
Yeah.
mid-season?
You don't. Yeah, it's the perils of this new year, right? Like, so we've literally put together three different rosters over the last couple 6 months or whatever. So there's a roster for this week. You're only bringing 22 guys in this week, right? Which is different. In the
Mm.
past, we've been able to bring 30 guys to camp, cut five, and then get your 25-man roster. Going to Philly tomorrow, we practice Wednesday once, twice on Thursday, walk through Friday morning, scrimmage Friday afternoon. It's a very quick, accelerated camp. You only have really three practices and there's only 22 guys, and that includes two goalies and a faceoff guy. So you're down to 19. So that's a roster, right? Then, obviously you guys know this. We don't play the first week of the PLL. We play the second week and we play a double header. So they're allowing us to go to Rhode Island, kind of have another mini training camp, and then prepare for our first two games. That's another roster. I don't know what that's going to look like. You know, I hope all five of our players are playing. But if they're not, who's available? Is it a defenseman and a midi? Is it Weishauer or Hunter Smith? Whatever. So you got to be prepared to get them into the roster. If they come into the roster, you're going to have to release some guys right now because we're actually over rostered at this point. So that's going to be a little funny. And we're just preparing that for the worst and hoping for the best. So, like the worst case scenario is Owen Grant and Marquez White and all of our draft picks are not at that second camp, right? So we have to play two games without those guys.
Right.
That's the worst case scenario. Now, we're probably not the only team in the league that's that's going to suffer that, right? So you're going to see the first week of the season, a lot of teams with guys that are typically playing for them are not going to be out there, right? So everybody's going through this. It's not just us. So that's another set of rosters. Then let's say all three of those guys become available and OG becomes available. We go into our third game of the season, or maybe even the fourth game of the season. That's a roster that has to take shape. So my message to the college guys is you're done. You're a cannon. We love you. We drafted you because we love you. We expect the best out of you. You won't hear from me now until you're finished your college career. Your job is right in front of you. It's not anything to do with the Boston Cannons. That was my last conversation with all of them the night of the draft, wishing them all the best. As soon as their season's over, they can sign a contract and then we can get them ingratiated into our process. So they're out. And yeah, so we're just like I said, I literally was talking about this with the team the other day. We're going to talk about it a little bit at a camp, but we're all just going to have to be a little bit flexible. And the guys that we put on the field are the best guys that we're going to put on the field for that game, right? Um, the other thing that's interesting about this season is we start with a doubleheader, we end with a doubleheader. So that's four games. We play 12 games. So in between May 15th and August, whatever, the 7th or
Ninth,
8th,
I think.
whatever, 9th, right?
Eight.
So you're looking at all of June, all of July, you almost 3 months. We only play 8 games. Like it's really weird thinking about it that way,
Mm.
Hmm.
right?
Also, really weird that the first week and the last week are bye weeks, so you're
Yes.
you're compressing it even further there.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a sense, I'm like, you know, is there a process in there that we should be thinking about, or a process in there so I think the bigger roster is going to help us. Like at the end of the day, I think when the college guys get in and we have a little bit more depth, I think it's going to help us in that time frame. So but at the end, this has always been my message. It's going to be spoken about a little bit more loud and clear and consistently this year. It's just one day at a time. It's literally one day at a time.
Hmm.
We're gonna go to camp tomorrow. We'll start practice on Wednesday, and all we're worried about is being that best version on Wednesday. What are we learning? How are we getting better? And you know, we've got different processes that we're building into our process this year. Again, I did a bad job last year as a coach. It was probably one of the worst years coaching I've had in my lifetime. And through a lot of self-reflection, I'm gonna be better. The team's gonna be better. And we've made some changes to our process that I think are gonna make us better. So, um, but yeah, a lot of the pushing up of the season has really created a lot of different dynamics when it comes to roster formation. But I feel really good that we've got them all covered to some degree, right? So I know that
Yeah.
was a long, long answer, but it was kind of a complicated issue to deal with for the last couple of months for sure.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I feel like maybe the last big thing that was somewhat like this was when Champ Series started, and and just everyone in the league, coaches and players alike, and officials and everything had to figure out like this new format, this new structure. Where I'm sure, if it continues exactly this way 5 years from now, I'm sure things will look a lot more streamlined. But um, yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about who the opening day roster is going to be, or certainly I've thought about it, and we can't know.
Yeah, honestly, I have about four different iterations of it um written down, and it could be any one of those four. Like
Mm,
you just you don't know. And then, God forbid you don't hopefully no injuries pop up between now and then. And but yeah, you're rooting for all these guys to do well, but you know, selfishly, I wouldn't mind seeing, Mikey or Hunter, get whacked in the first round of the playoffs and be available. So I wouldn't say that to them personally, but what the heck? But that's a selfish assessment. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, at least you took guys from 5 different teams. They can't all win.
so odds are pretty good we get one of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got
Uh,
enough firepower right now without those guys. I'm not worried about it.
yeah. I think just one more thing that I wanted to ask you about is the backup goalie and then the faceoff position as well. So there's three goalies listed on the roster
Yeah.
here. Obviously, Collins a starter, but then we've got uh,
JC.
yeah, JC Higginbotham
Yeah.
and Matt Nunes from Virginia, who I don't think has had a pro shot yet, but I think
No.
he was certainly a very good college goalie while he was there. And then another guy that we didn't mention is an offseason signing of Tommy Burke
Yep.
from Ohio State. So um, I guess you said only one face-off guy at camp this weekend, but maybe whether it's now or going into Rhode Island, what do we expect both of those competitions to look like?
Yeah, just compete, right? So Matt's coaching at Fairfield, so he can't be at this camp. So we picked up JC. I recruited JC out of Texas when he was in high school. He got into camp last year with the Archers, and he had a phenomenal camp. Everybody in camp was talking about him. Um, and Brian Cavanaugh, who's an assistant coach with the Archers, is a dear friend. He and Marcus are very close. I'm very close to the kind of the Archers staff. Tommy Schreiber and I are, and Marcus, dear friends. And Cav was working an event that we have over the winter, and I asked him about like goalies out there, and he's like, Coach JC is legit. Like he's legit. He's a ball stopper. He's bigger body. So I didn't need to be told twice. We went out and signed him, and we're going to see him for 3 days here in Philly, and then I'm going to look at Matt for a couple of days up in Rhode Island, and then we'll figure out with Kirsty which is the best combination, and it might be a combination of the three of them during the course of a year. I think the one area where I didn't do a good job of last year was, look, Colin struggled a little bit mentally, but we were poor defensively. We were poor. He took more shots from under 12 yards than any goalie in the league. He took more assisted goals against than any goalie in the league. His goal against, we had more goals scored against us under 10 yards than any team in the league. So, it's easy to point at one thing, but it's never one thing, right? And if you look at the body of work that Colin had, he had a good year. I think he wore down a little bit towards the end of the year mentally, and I think I probably should have played Adam. Um, in a spot or two just to give him a little bit of a break. And I didn't pull that trigger, right? I should have probably benched Bryce or Garrett at one point during the season. And I didn't. And I trusted those guys, and I still do. I love those guys. I just, they're veterans, they're pros. I just felt like it was always going to turn around. And I learned my lesson, right? So you got a 25-man roster for a reason, and we're going to use it. Doesn't mean I'm going to have quick triggers and be benching guys and putting guys in and out, but when I feel that feeling in my gut that maybe this guy needs a break we could use a little life or just a change for some reason, we're going to do it, right? And I think that hurt us. I think we would have won a game or two if I was more convicted that way versus just kind of staying pat. Um, and my gut is we're not going to have to do that this year. I think we're going to play very good lacrosse. I think the guys that are going to be in there are going to execute at a really high level. Um, but I'm not going to be afraid to make a change. And if that's a goalie change, it's a goalie change. If it's a face-off change, it's a face-off change. So Tommy's going to get his shot. With only having 22 guys, what I was planning on was like out of OG and Kirsty and Marquez and Hogger, all four of those guys are NLL guys. I thought for sure three of those four would not be there. And then we could use the other roster spot to bring Tommy in. Now, only Marquez and OG aren't going to be there, so I can't leave Kirsty off the roster, and I can't leave OG off the roster, right? So the odd man out is Tommy, but he's going to get his opportunity up in Rhode Island. And I'm also got my eyes on a couple of guys coming out of college that we might have an opportunity to land before we get to Rhode Island. But there's going to be competition in the face-off spot. Zach's done an awesome job for us once he stops committing stupid penalties, which he did after the outlaw game. And we got to get better on the wings, man. Like, it's easy to point again. Oh, your face-off percentage is last in the league. Well, it's 48 point something. At the end of the day, there was 2 to 3 ground balls per game that should have been ours. That would have pushed us closer to 50, and then we're like fourth in the league, right? So, and in this league, unless you have a Trevor Baptiste or a Joe Nardella or a TD Ireland, you're only winning 50% of your faceoffs anyhow. Look at all the rest of those guys. They're all hovering around 50, right? So I don't lose sleep over that. And I know we'll be better on the wings. And I know Zach is continually trying to refine his game. And I know he's not going to commit stupid penalties. We kind of nipped that in the bud after the outlaw game. So that being said, what can we do to support Zach? Right? Well, we got to get better on the wings. Well, Will Donovan and Ethan Raw and Ben Ramsey and Mick Kelly, some of those guys coming off the wings, they're pretty dang good. All right. You could put a double pull up there with Rawler and Will Donovan. All
Mm.
right. I think there's a couple more ground balls we get in a game that we didn't get to. So all those things were, you know, so many things I went through last year of why we didn't get to where we all wanted to get to. And what I hope I did as a good job as a coach is understanding where the weaknesses lie and then fix them. How do we fix them? And it starts with me. And I feel like I'm poised for my best season. And I think our guys feel that. And, we'll go from there. But it's a competitive league. It's getting better every minute. Everybody knows that. And that's what makes it so exciting. So, just can't wait to get up to Philly tomorrow and get out on that field on Wednesday, 12 o'clock. So,
Yeah, man, I wish I have to see what the Rhode Island training camp schedule is like, because that's a lot logistically easier for us to get to. But man, do I wish
Yes.
we could pay Philadelphia a visit this week.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the Rhode Island thing should be cool. Like, I know the reason why we're playing a doubleheader up there. I think they kind of look at that as another home game for us. And I never want to not take the opportunity. I don't know who watches these things or whatever, but I mean, that crowd up, I mean, it's just incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And we feel horrible that we didn't give you guys wins with those games. So we're out to rectify that as well. And we look at Rhode Island as we're going to count on that as being a home game for us, a home weekend. And we got a double shot, and it gives us a great chance right out of the gate to kind of make up to our fans a little bit of that. So I promise you that we do talk about that. It does mean something to us, and we're going to be better in those situations this year, 1,000% guaranteed.
Yeah, we can't wait for it. I know it's close, but it still feels far away.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I know it's kind of a crunch point at a couple of our jobs at the moment too, which makes it maybe feel a little bit longer, but that May 15th is gonna hit really nicely.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, Jack Casey, I know I kind of dominated the conversation here. Anything else you wanted to ask before we wrap up?
No, no, I think we hit everything for me, Casey.
Um, I mean, you guys know I always have something. So I kind of last time that we had you on last year, I kind of asked you a little bit about what you have kind of been doing to take care of yourself. Um, so like what have you been up to with that, coach? Like how have you been taking care of yourself? I also know that you're a reader. I
Yeah.
have the book that you mentioned last podcast. I did not get to start reading it yet, but Thinking Fast and Slow is on my bookcase right next to me. Um, yeah, so just tell us a little bit about that.
Uh, well, you guys know me. I'm an honest person. So I had my shoulder operated on in November. So a little bit, and I'm not. There's no excuses. Okay, that's in our. You guys have heard me say that. That is a team philosophy. We believe in that. Um, and you continue to find ways. If you stop making excuses, you'll find out that you can find ways to get things done in your life, right? Like we're big believers in that. But I was in, uh, I had a torn rotator cuff labrum and a bicep tendon,
Oh,
and I've had it for 2 years now. And last summer uh, was just brutal. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I didn't sleep much. I don't take drugs or pills. I was supposed to get operated on before the season, but it just didn't. I didn't feel comfortable with the time frame of it. Like, and I didn't want to be out with my arm in a sling, and it's just not the way I work. So kind of dealt with that all of last year, and again, not making excuses. I was not myself. It's just very hard to sleep. Anybody that has that injury will tell you that sleep is the thing it affects the most. You're not you're in pain, but it's not like excruciating pain. It just depends on how you move. Like riding the airplanes for 2 or 3, 4 hours, I thought that was brutal. Like, but
mm,
not sleeping for like a year was not fun. So finally got it operated on November. I just got cleared from the doctor April 1st. So Casey, I've just been starting back working out a little bit, and man, it's been brutal. I'm so far out of shape right now. I didn't do anything last summer at all, like no fit outside of literally just coaching and trying to survive like those weeks. I didn't
mhm.
exercise. I didn't lift. I didn't do push-ups. I didn't do sit-ups. I didn't run. I didn't do anything. And now I feel great. I'm sleeping great. I'm back mentally 100% of myself. My energy level is through the roof. Um, so I know I'm going to have a better year that way. Just I'm
Yeah.
excited not to be, So to answer your question, I'm just started. I have a trainer buddy of mine and I went out for the first workout and he really put me through the ringer and I couldn't walk for like 3 days. It was absolutely miserable. So anyhow, but mentally I feel great. The team has sensed it in me. There's a little bit more joy back in my
Mm,
approach. And I'm, you know, I'd like to think I'm tough, but I just don't think I handled that very well last year. At times I just was really short and my patience wasn't as good as it normally is. And, so anyhow, that's where I am physically.
okay.
I'm fired up. I'm a little overweight, but I'll be okay once we hit the dead of summer. I got my plan.
Hmm.
Got some new books. Hold on, I want to show you this one I just finished. All right. There's a it's called The Only Way to Win. It's by Jim Lair. Uh,
Mm,
it just talks about your character development and how just different processes you can use as a human to. I think it's an area where we all think we have character and it's shown in different ways, right? But I don't think we spend a lot of time trying to develop the to the extent of our character, right? And what does that mean? And it just talks about how your character is your driver. It's really your driver to your higher end of achievement. Um,
hmm.
and it's fascinating. Jim Lair is like a guru in a lot of coaching circles with his simplicity of relating messages to your players. But it's called The Only Way to Win, and just finished it 2 days ago. Stuck it on my bookshelf. I'm going to take a book to camp that it's back in my bedroom, and I'm not I forget the name, but it's written by Paul Coelho. He wrote the I forget. It's a world, but it's a different book. It's more of a philosophical book, and it has one page writings like every day.
Mm.
So many of them are so pertinent to what we're all going through as players and coaches. So I'm taking the book to camp, and I'm gonna let a guy take it each night and kind of sift through it and pick something out that he feels is kind of pertinent to the cannons and have them talk about it like the next day. And so I'll see how
I
that
love that.
goes. Yeah. But yeah, that's where I am with all that other outside. I appreciate you asking about that. I do love talking about that stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And you've got a couple grandbabies.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We had we had we had three. So Mackie, we have two older ones. Ainsley, she's 4. Scotty is just turned 3. They're like a year and change apart. And then we had three within a span of, so Mackie is 11 months. Beckett he's 10 months, and Marcus Tiger is 6 months. So we had three in like four
Wow.
month span.
Wow.
So yeah, you should see Marcus Holman with his little baby boy Tiger. It's awesome, man. He's a wonderful. All of our kids are wonderful parents. We're so blessed, and they have great spouses. Um, but seeing Marcus and Tiger a little bit has really been it's been fun to watch. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, got a bunch of little runs running around. We got this home
Yeah.
game here in Maryland. They're all coming, so
Aw.
gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger picked up stick yet?
Yeah, they all have them. They all have them in their little crib, little baby
Oh,
sticks. I
Good.
didn't get them
that's
for them. I want them to play golf. I want Tiger to play golf.
uh,
I want Mackie to play tennis. All right. I want Beckett to play probably golf or tennis. So, but I don't think I'm going to have a say in any of that. So,
I mean, hard for them not to have at least a little bit of lacrosse growing up
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
they
family
do.
tree.
They do. My oldest Matthew, his wife Kelsey played at Georgetown. She was a really good player. Uh, they send us little videos every Friday night of their little youth league. The two girls are out there playing soft stick lacrosse and
aw.
same field that the boys played on when they were little kids. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
So
That
being a
is.
grandparent is I it's A plus. It's A plus. I We go visit, the kids start getting crying or fussy or whatever. I'm like, we usually
Bye.
drive 2 cars because Lori likes to hang out and like change diapers and shit. And I'm like, no, I'll see you guys later. I'm heading home.
Yeah.
I get home, it's nice and quiet. It's just me and the dog. It's awesome. So good.
Yeah. That's what my
Yeah.
mom said about being a grandparent my whole
Uh,
life. It's like it's just the best of both worlds. It's
it is A plus, man. It is literally A plus.
like,
So we're very
Mm.
blessed and very happy. And like I said, we have wonderful kids, and they married some great people. So God's been good to us. Appreciate it.
Mm.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, Coach, thank you
Awesome.
much. Thank you so much for the time. Every time we do this, it's a joy to talk to you. I'm sure.
Yeah, I was beginning to think you guys didn't like me anymore, so I didn't hear from you. So
No,
I was like, shit, man. They were the only three fans. I think they were the three people that liked me after the last game. Now nobody likes me. So yeah. And did
no, that could.
you notice on ESPN, I was the only coach that they didn't interview during the draft. Did
We
anybody
did
notice
notice
that?
that.
Okay, so yes.
Yeah.
Why was
I don't
I was
ask.
honestly, I was like, is he okay? Like, is coach sick? Like, why are we not hearing from him?
Yeah, I don't know. The Cannons they're not in love with the Cannons anymore, right? I don't know. We'll see what
That's
happens.
all right.
Uh,
Let them doubt us, okay?
Yep.
yeah.
Boston versus
Yeah,
everyone.
That's right.
we do respond better when we're the underdog. I do know that. So and
Absolutely.
I wasn't the
And
only one that noticed. I got a bunch of texts after that. So I was like, I'm not in charge of ESPN, man. I don't care what they do. As a matter of fact, I'm glad because it's
Mm,
just one less thing I got to talk about. So
sure.
true.
it's all good. All
Yeah.
And
good.
you know what? I gotta say, as a big Boston sports fan, I feel like it really is Boston against everybody.
Yeah.
No matter what team it is, we always run into that the doubt or like they kind of like overlook us and it's like, why we're Boston?
Yeah. I'm with you. I when we became the Boston Cannons, I was like, oh my God, like literally it's our personality. It's just, we're the underdogs, and we have to fight and scrap, and and you gain respect by doing the work, right? And
Mhm.
that's how we're built, and that's what we're going to do this year. And I think we got away from that a little bit last year. I think we started believing a little bit too much of what we were all hoping for instead of working for it. We started overlooking some things, and it just and we got old fast on defense. And I've said that to the guys. It's not a criticism, it's just the reality. And that's on me. That's on me not having guys that are ready to play there. And um so yeah, I mean, it just, we kind of get back to the roots a little bit. Doesn't mean we're going to win every game, but it's just, your identity is very critical in sports teams. And
Mhm.
I don't think we were playing at the end of the year like the Boston Cannons have played. I think there were spurts of it, there were moments of it, like when we went out to Denver and we played the Water Dogs. That was a critical game for both of our teams.
Hmm.
That's why I didn't make any changes on defense, because if we would have not played well there, I probably was going to make some changes going into our home weekend. We go out there and we wax them. It was like 12-9 or whatever, and should have been like 15-9. We played really well defensively, but we played like cannons. We were physical, we were tough on ground balls, and I felt like, oh shit, it's back. And
Mhm.
we go out against the Redwoods and we didn't play that way. And we fought back, and we didn't, but we didn't play that way from the get-go. And then the Whip Snakes, honestly, guys, we just ran out of juice. I mean, I could have told you coming out of there at halftime it was 7-7, but it was going to be a miracle for us to climb up that hill. They had a lot more juice than we did, and that Redwoods game really took it out of us. Obviously, if we beat the Redwoods, we get into the playoffs. You don't know what can happen. But my point to all this is, again, there's no excuses. I didn't do a good job of coaching. We've talked about this enough as a staff and as a team. We just get back to the basics, right? Who are we? What really makes playing for the Cannon special? And our guys know what that takes, and it's up to me to lead them that way, and that's what we're gonna do. And then, so that's why it's fun, right? We'll see how the things unravel from here. So, all right,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we
well,
cannot wait again to see you May 15th. Cheer on, get a couple of wins down in Rhode Island, and then
yeah,
obviously,
we owe you a couple
yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's nice to get that extra win. I think we'll be at or I'll at least be at 3 weekends because I've gone to Connecticut the last couple of years as well. Um,
good.
yeah, I mean the more lacrosse, the more cannons lacrosse we get, the better.
All right.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, Coach, thank you so very much for the time. Drive safe to training camp tomorrow. We will look forward to those clips coming out as the PLO puts them
Yeah,
out so frequently.
if they take any of us, but that's
All right, yeah. RJ will be getting a strongly worded email from me if
Yeah.
I don't see anything about you guys by Wednesday.
Uh, that's great. I'm not, I'm not letting off on this one bit. It's just like, I got it. I got it. It's like a dog with a bone. It's gonna stay there all year. It's like, your coach Pizzula. There was a game where
Mm-hmm.
there was a bunch of illegal screens or whatever, and he got in the press conference, and like
Yeah.
all he kept saying was like illegal screen, and I was like, yeah, I love that guy, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He
I
is.
really want to see the two of you in the same room.
Mm.
I feel
I,
like we might have joked about this like not too long ago. We would love to see the two of you guys
I would
in
love
the same room.
I would love to meet him. He's a class act. I just listened to a podcast he had on with the Pardon My Take guys, and he's really a funny guy. Like, he has a great sense of humor.
Hmm.
I just like him because he just lays it all out there, and I feel like I'm like that too. It's like, there's nothing hidden here. It is what it is.
Hmm.
It's not magical. Like, there's no rockets. There's no magic science to this whole thing, right? Like, you just got to continue to foster the love in your locker room and motivate guys different ways, but we all got to be pulling in the same direction, right? And sometimes it works like really, really well. Sometimes it doesn't work, and you have to make adjustments or changes. And you know, um, So I have a great feeling about our team, but everybody does at this point, right? So, but it's going to be deeds and not words that get it done. So, all right,
All
all
right.
right.
Heck yeah.
Talked enough. Thank you guys. Really
Thank you very
appreciate
much,
you.
Coach.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Coach.
Coach.
Have a great night. Okay.
You too.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye.
And thanks again to Coach for hopping on. He always talks about how much he appreciates us or appreciates us having us having him on the podcast. And I think like that just makes me appreciate him even more because it really is like he's the coach. He's the one that's giving the time to us to come share with us. So like it's really just so cool that he is so both just willing in his time to give to us, but also in the amount of information that he shares with us. It's really fascinating to get such an inside look at his mind and the team, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I like especially talking about the draft. I know um he didn't talk about all 33 guys he said that were on his board, but still to get like the here's everyone we were thinking of taking second overall. I don't think Schaller or Van Buren was a surprise, but that was like a way more honest look at that process than you would get if you asked anyone else
Hmm.
in a Big Four sport. Um, yeah, the Patriots are not telling you who they were considering taking with their pick. And to go through the all the offseason acquisitions, the free agent signings as well so thoroughly. Um, yeah, I think it was so enlightening and enlightening as well to talk about kind of everything that went wrong last year. Obviously, both from his own health perspective and some of the other players. I mean, we've talked it seemed like a lot of guys were not fully healthy for a lot of that year, and um, I don't know, just the way he talks about how much he believes in everyone in the roster, it gets me fired up. I'm like, we maybe thought this might be a little bit of down year, but I don't know. Coach has got me believing.
Oh, I was all in on this year. No, the last year was a blip. 2026, Ethan said it. 2026 coming up cannons.
Hell yeah, yeah. I mean, it is like I don't. I think it's somewhat of an advantage for the Cannons to not be playing that first weekend because that's you can't be missing guys if you're not playing. But you kind of it kind of evens out with that double header. But I don't know. It feels like between Harvard, Towson, I'll be honest, Tufts was probably going to win, but Richmond and
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah, uh, like all four of those schools are probably not winning first round, which would mean they are available um, for the Cannons Rhode Island weekend. It's I guess the Memorial Day weekend they don't play that weekend, so theoretically they'll all be available the weekend after that anyway.
Isn't Rhode Island the first weekend though of the playoffs?
I thought it was second because it said
Oh,
quarterfinals was that day.
never mind.
Um,
Oh yeah, because the next weekend's Final Four. Yeah,
yeah,
never mind.
yeah. So first round would be the week of the Utah games. Um,
Yep.
so pretty much every draft pick, except for the I mean, well, not every draft pick because not everyone's going to make the tournament, of course, but all the you figure. Honestly, I don't know if Notre Dame should be a lot coming out of it's an at-large bid. Um, UNC feels like they got to get an at-large bid. Um, Princeton or Harvard, whoever does win the Ivy. Yeah, I mean, Richmond is the AQ of all AQs in their conference. Um, and again,
Watch it for UMass. All right, they could go on a run.
I would love that. Obviously, because it would bring Hunter Smith in a Cannons uniform week one, but I think we all love to see an upset too. But I don't know. This Richmond team has been it's fun to see a new school kind of hit close to the top of college sports, and hopefully they get there. Um, Yeah, I don't know, but I guess what I was saying kind of evens out with the Cannons having a doubleheader that weekend. But um, I don't know. I'm excited. The Bryson Shaw flyer was kind of interesting for him to talk about. Just kind of admit openly that like we'll see what happens. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about kind of what we expect that opening day roster to look like. I know we've done that the last couple of years. This is definitely the hardest one to predict, but I think actually something that I did want to talk about to kind of process what he said is it seemed like we are going to see a lot more rotation in the lineup, like potentially even having Matt Licata at X and not Asher Nolting for parts or even all of a game, which feels like you got to send the other guy out of the box because you can't have Asher just sitting on the bench for a quarter. Like
Right.
the roster's just not big enough for that. Um, and having Jeff and Connor Kirst play more solely offense. Um, I think of the it's tough. The roster on the website's not super accurate now because it doesn't have the draft picks in it yet. But between
It
the
also still has Bryce Young.
yes, um, between I will say the four midfielders that are on there with Campbell, Kelly, Kirst, Vardaro. I suppose we'll bump Jeff Trainer up to there, and then you add Logan Ip, Jack Rigneri, and Mikey Weishart to that. It sounds like the eight guys there are going to rotate through, which is pretty cool. I mean, Campbell probably playing every game. Hopefully, Weishart playing every game once he kind of gets his legs under him to the pro game. But those other three spots, it really feels like it's up in the air, which I think is cool. I think it's good for the athletes themselves to have the competition, and I think it's good for the Cannons too to know that there's a really deep bench they can rely on. Um, and then down low to see, I guess it's going to be Keelty. We have four polls there too, right? Keelty, he said, um, Owen Grant's going to play down low, and Will Donovan's going to play down low, and then Hunter Smith. So, and then Ethan Rawl, and I guess Remy Reynolds will be the other, or DeFazio. Like, I don't know. There's coach has a lot of fun, fun, interesting choices to make this training camp.
Yeah, it's definitely the most question mark heavy roster I can think of in the last, just comparing to the last few years.
Yeah, we'll see. Can't go through it now just because we didn't prep it, but I'll be interested to see who exactly those 22 players are. Obviously, again, none of those college guys, and I think we just have two NLL commits with Grant and White. Um, but advantage to those, those free agent pickups to come in and try to leave their mark and prove they get a spot before some of these college guys have a chance to. Um, but it really feels like this is like the year that all 25 guys in the 25 man are going to have a chance to play. And, you won't see a Carter Parlett who's on the sideline in a polo shirt in
Hmm.
10 games. Um, all right. I think, I mean, we had such a good conversation with Coach Holman. It feels like, I've already probably gone on longer than we should have for this post interview talk. But anything else either of you want to say before we wrap up?
Casey, I'm good.
Honestly, I don't think so. We did cover a lot with Coach, and I mean, I'm just always so thankful for the time that we get to have with him and pick his brain about stuff. I definitely am excited to go back and listen to this episode again.
Yeah. If you're a Cannons fan in Philly, go pop into training camp, say hi, send us some pictures. Um, otherwise, I think we'll be back. Oh, the women are there already. I saw
Yes.
Yes.
the videos and photos there. The new Nagy stuff looks awesome. Um, I hope they stayed warm today. Can't wait. Cannot wait for May 15th. We will be back next week, talking about just even more exciting things as we're 1 week closer to the season. But until then, go Cannons, go Guard.
Go Cannons, go Guard.
Go Cannons, go Guard.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom.